So Great Are You, Lord is a popular song in the CCM catalog right now. Everyone's singing. I believe it was popularized by a band called Sons and Daughters, but it's a song that's been very popular in our worship sets here at the church. So something that we do at the Ramp Church, we embrace a diversity of music sounds, and with gospel, CCM, and traditional music, but we have a tendency to put a little spin on it. We call our own seasoning, right? So you'll be able to recognize it on the project, but also you hear the difference with the bass line and a little simple tempo change of a beloved song, but you'll hear it on a new spin. The song You Carried Me is actually a song that I wrote probably 10 years ago. It was a song that I wrote coming out of a really dark season of my life. Oftentimes when we're called to do ministry, being called to do ministry or being anointed or being gifted does not eliminate you going through life's challenges. But oftentimes we still minister and we still serve even while we're going through. And while we're suffering from our own pain, I often call it the wounded healer, where you're healing others with your words and with your worship while you're even wounded yourself. And so I went through a really dark season in my life, burying people that was close to me that I love, dealing with challenges of rejection, because even pastoring, you deal with those challenges. But I remember coming into a really great place, and people talked about how much I had accomplished and how much I had achieved. So when I look back at my life in those years, when I was going through a lot of pain and my own challenges, I was wondering how in the world did I achieve those things under the pressure and under the burdens I was carrying. And a poem that for years was called Unknown, right? That said that this man was walking along the beach and he only saw one set of footprints, and he says, God, I thought you promised me you would always walk with me, and I only saw one set of footprints. And the Lord spoke to him and says, during those times, I carried you. And so You Carried Me was an acknowledgement that even though there were moments where I didn't feel God, I couldn't see God, and even moments I felt like I couldn't hear God, because there are times that your faith is tested when you have to be faithful to a silent God. I said it's when you're stuck between Malachi and Matthew and you haven't heard God say anything. And if you have not heard God say anything lately, that means he hasn't changed his mind. He'll carry you through those seasons. So that was the inspiration behind that song. So there's a song on our project called the One-Way Anthem. And the reason why it's called an anthem, because we have a Reformation and alliance of churches called One-Way Churches International. And I sat down to write this song, which would be the anthem for our entire organization. And the theme for our organization is that we preach Jesus. And we realize that more people get their theology and their faith system is built more by the songs they sing than scriptures they read. And so I felt challenged to actually write our statement of faith within our anthem. And so it was a wonderful challenge where we start from the beginning, through one fall, we all became sinners, talking about the fall of Adam and how all of mankind were born into sin because of Adam. But praise be God, he had a plan. What was the plan? God prepared himself a lamb. So you see the beauty of godliness and the manifestation of God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, all in that song, and it's our own hymn. So at first we only had like 2 verses to it, and then as the years gone by, it evolved. We've added more verses to it, and because our faith is Judeo-Christian and the foundation of our Christian faith is Judaism, we do a nod to Judaism in that song where we sing the Shema, or the Shema of Israel, where we say, Hear, Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. So even though it's our anthem, many churches and organizations around the world have taken on that song and they lift it up and sing it. The song, You're Still Faithful. Now, on the project, it's called Still Faithful, but among our church congregation, we call it Megan's Song. because Megan was a young lady that was a part of our church, faithful in prayer. She was only 25 years old, and one week she notified me and let me know she was going to the hospital because she was running a fever. So running a fever, think it's a minor thing and she'll get over it. Come to find out, in that same week she found out she had leukemia. And at 25 years old, the leukemia started to become very aggressive. And I had a conversation with Megan, and I was praying with her for God to heal her. We were fasting, and Megan told me that she had a peace about where she was. She believed God was going to heal her, but she said to me, even if God doesn't heal me, He's still faithful. And oftentimes, our faith is always given to God as a token for God to give us what we want. But sometimes we realize that mature faith is not, here's my faith, give me what I want. It's here's my faith, sustaining what you want. And Megan, even though she was a young Christian, her posture of faith spoke to me that whether it was in her life, giving God glory, let her live, but even if it was in her death, it would not change the posture of God, that God is faithful. And so after her funeral, it was Wednesday, and after we went to the graveside, we almost canceled Bible study. And at the last minute, I said, no, we need to be together. We're grieving. Let's go to the church and have Bible study. And while we were in Bible study, we were worshiping the Lord, and I heard my son playing some chords. And I told him, I said, I hear something to that. And that's when we started singing, You Are Faithful, Faithful God. And so that's the story behind Still Faithful, or what we call